Mashiro Moritaka is on his way to school in the morning, thinking about his future. He realizes that his future doesn't seem too bright, and he's confused about what to do with his life. He thinks that everyone only thinks about a good college and a decent job for a normal life. So he's just putting in minimal effort to go to school so that he can live the so-called normal life. He plans to take a desk job with minimal effort and let his life drift away. Mashiro realizes that his future looks quite depressing. He thinks that if there's any scope to add some spice to his boring life, it's through love. But he doesn't even have the courage to talk to his crush, Azuki Miho. So how can he add that spice? All he can manage to do is make doodles of his crush in his notebook. After school ends, he hides his notebook under his desk to avoid showing it to his friends, and then forget it there. But a boy sitting behind him notices this. When Mashiro gets home, he realizes that his notebook is still at school, so he goes back to retrieve it, only to find that there's only one boy sitting in the class, whose name is Takagi Akito, the class topper. Akito shows Mashiro his copy, and Mashiro is mortified because there are many drawings of Miho in his notebook. Akito tells Mashiro that he already knows that Mashiro likes Miho because he sits at the back of the class, so he sees Mashiro doodling Miho in his copy every day. So he knew that Mashiro would come back for his copy, and that's why he was waiting. Akito tells Mashiro that Miho also likes him. Hearing this, Mashiro is shocked and asks him how he knows. Akito reminds Mashiro that since he sits at the back of the class, he knows everything that's going on in the class and notices things that maybe others can't. Mashiro dismisses his words and asks for his notebook back. Akito says he'll give it back under one condition, if Mashiro teams up with him to become a manga author. Hearing this unexpected request, Mashiro is astonished. Akito explains to Mashiro that becoming a manga author is his childhood dream, and he considers himself a capable story writer, but he can't draw at all. However, seeing Mashiro's amazing drawings, he's convinced that if they partner up, they can create an amazing manga together. Mashiro tells Akito that this dream is stupid and impossible. Only those with genius-level talent become successful manga authors. The rest just end up being gamblers. Mashiro explains that even if your manga gets accepted for publication in a magazine, its popularity is ranked based on readers' feedback every week, and if its popularity drops, it gets cancelled by the 10th week. Only 1 out of 1 luck authors can financially survive solely through their manga. So becoming a manga author is like a huge gamble. Akito asks Mashiro how he knows so much about manga, and Mashiro tells him that his uncle was a manga author. This convinces Akito even more that becoming a manga artist is Mashiro's and his life's mission. But Mashiro is still unsure and says that making manga is hard work, which he's not capable of. Akito tells him that if he continues with this passive attitude, he'll regret it for the rest of his life. Mashiro says he'll think about it and leaves. Then we see a flashback of Mashiro's uncle, who was a struggling manga author. When Mashiro asked him why he wanted to become a manga author, he said that he had a crush on a girl in his school and he wanted to marry her. But after school, that girl became very successful in her career, and he remained a struggling mangaka. He had thought that the day he became a successful manga author, he would propose to her, but by the time that day came, she had already gotten married. Mashiro's uncle said that although he lost the game of love, his love was the motivation behind him writing a successful manga. But then the flashback jumps 2 years ahead, and we find out that Mashiro's uncle passed away. Due to his manga being cancelled, he was very stressed and his health deteriorated due to overwork. We then come back to the present where Mashiro remembers his uncle's story and thinks that if chasing dreams leads to such a tragic end, then a normal, boring life is much better. At that moment, he receives a call from Akito, who tells him that he's going to Miho's house to confess his feelings to her, and Mashiro should also come quickly. Mashiro is shocked to hear this and goes to meet Akito. Both of them reach Miho's house and ring the bell. Miho comes out, and she is surprised to see Mashiro there. Both Mashiro and Miho start blushing like tomatoes, which convinces Akito that their feelings are definitely mutual. Akito tells Miho that he's heard that she wants to become an anime voice actress and asks if it's true. Miho confirms it and says that her goal is to become a great anime voice actress. Hearing this, Mashiro is shocked. In the flow of emotions of that moment, Mashiro tells Miho, without thinking, that him and Akito are going to partner up to write manga. So when their manga gets turned into an anime and Miho becomes a successful voice actress, they will reserve a voice acting role for her. Miho gets very excited upon hearing this. Seeing Miho's excitement and happiness, Mashiro remembers his uncle's story and without thinking asks Miho if she will marry him when their dream comes true. Then everyone freezes and there's absolute silence. Miho rushes back inside the house, and Mashiro feels like his life has ended there. Then Miho's voice comes through the intercom, and she says that she agrees to the marriage. She says that when their manga gets turned into an anime, and Miho becomes a successful voice actress, they will get married. But Miho sets one condition. Until their dreams come true, they can't meet each other. They both will work hard and focus all their energies into their work to achieve their dreams. Till then, they can only encourage each other through texts, but they can't meet each other until their manga becomes an anime, and she becomes a successful voice actress and stars in their anime. Mashiro agrees to her condition and promises to achieve their dreams so that they can get married one day. Mashiro doesn't believe his luck and resolves to become a successful manga artist. Akito is pumped up as well and says that they'll aim for writing the #1 manga in Japan. Mashiro says that that's not possible as they can never hope to surpass Dragon Ball or One Piece. But they'll surely write a great manga that will be successful enough to get an anime adaptation one day. And when that day comes, he'll marry Azuki and live happily ever after. Next morning, Mashiro gets ready for school while recalling the embarrassing events of the previous night. When he looks outside his house, he finds Akito standing there. Akito has come to pick Mashiro up for school so that they can walk to school together. On the way, they decide on nicknames for each other. Mashiro's nickname is now Saiko, and Akito's nickname is now Shujin. Going forward, the two decide to refer to each other as Saiko and Shujin, so we'll also use their nicknames from now on. Shujin brings up Saiko's uncle and asks him about his death. Saiko says it had been 7 years since his last manga serialization. 7 years unemployment could drive anyone to take their own life. Shujin is shocked to hear that. Saiko says his parents told him that he died of overwork, but 7 years of unemployment and overwork don't quite add up, so he is pretty sure his uncle took his own life. Saiko then tells Shujin that the past doesn't matter, and he is now determined to become a mangaka, and he would partner up with anyone to achieve his goal, since now his future with Azuki depends on it. Shujin says that's not fair since he was the one who got Saiko into the manga dream in the first place. But Saiko says everything is fair in love and war, and if Shujin is a good enough story writer, he wouldn't have anything to worry about. A girl then shows up and interrupts their conversation. Her name is Iwase. She challenges Akito to see who scores better marks in the upcoming exams. Akito and Iwase are the top 2 students in the school, and Iwase always loses to Akito for the first spot. So she's pumped up for the upcoming exams and challenges Shujin for a race to the top. But Shujin is so occupied with his manga dream that he couldn't care less. During the exam, Saiko can't help but look over at Azuki and wonder how she's so calm and composed as always, as if the embarrassing events of last night never happened, while he is a blushing, cringing mess. The prospect of potentially getting to marry the love of his life in the future is more than he can bear, and he starts feeling sick. So he excuses himself from the exam and goes to the infirmary. Seeing him, Shujin also turns in his paper early and excuses himself to follow Saiko. Next we see them on the school roof. Shujin asks what happened to him. Saiko says that just being in the same room with Azuki makes him anxious and makes it difficult to breathe. Shujin says that he admires couples like him and Azuki. Their love is not meant for flaunting in public, but has deep enough roots that it affects him so deeply. Saiko asks Shujin that if his dream is to become a manga author anyway, then why does he bother with studying and staying the top of his class? Shujin says that that's for insurance, since he is not stupid enough to believe that the chances of him becoming a successful mangaka are 100%. Saiko next asks him if he thinks one needs to be smart to become a manga author, to which Shujin says that yes, he believes so, but he also thinks that being smart and being good at studying are not the same thing. Shujin says that he reached out to Saiko not only because of his drawing skills, but because he believes that Saiko is smart, and thus partnering with him gives him a great chance for success. He also thinks that Azuki, who might not be the best at studying, is much smarter than someone like Iwase, who can't do anything but study. The fact that Azuki is already striving towards following her dream of becoming an anime voice actress is proof of that. Hearing all this, Saiko realizes that Shujin is the real deal, and says that he looks forward to working with him. After school, Shujin asks Saiko that because of his uncle's death, wouldn't his parents be against him wanting to become a mangaka? Saiko says that that's quite possible, but he'll try his best to convince them. He says that the first hurdle any child has to overcome is his parents. Saiko approaches his mother. He tells her he plans to become a mangaka, and she, like any good Asian mother, crushes his dreams before they begin, with a simple no. Saiko says he'll pursue drawing manga along with his high school and college, and if he isn't successful by the end of his college, he will quit. His mother still isn't interested and says that his uncle's example should be clear enough to show him that success in that profession is a pipe dream. But Saiko is adamant and asks her to at least discuss with his father before completely dismissing him. She says she'll do so, but she's sure his reply will be the same. Back in his room, Saiko opens an old box where he had kept his uncle's manga. He takes it out and starts reading it. He loses track of time and ends up reading all the volumes. He realizes how manga can bring pure joy to its readers, and how, even though his uncle is gone, his essence lives on through his work, and he manages to bring joy and laughter to people, even from beyond the grave. This reaffirms his resolve to write a successful manga someday, and Saiko decides that he will become a manga author, even if it means that his parents disown him. Just then he hears a knock on the door, and his mother walks in. She tells him that C talked to his father. Saiko knows that he most likely refused, but to his surprise his father said to let him do it. His father's precise words to his mother were, "Men have dreams that women would never understand." Hearing such beautiful words of wisdom brings tears to Saiko's eyes, and he feels grateful to have a gigachad sexist father. His mother then tells him to go tell Grandpa of his plans. Since Grandpa was the one who lost a son to the manga world, it is Saiko's duty to tell him himself. Saiko goes to his grandpa and tells him of his plan to become a manga author. Hearing this, his grandpa takes out a key from his drawer and hands it to him. Saiko asks what the key is for. His grandpa tells him that it is the key to his uncle's apartment, where he had his manga studio. He said that he had kept it the same way his son had left it for all these years. Saiko is surprised by this and says he's just decided to draw manga and there might not be need of a manga studio yet. To which his grandpa replies that that place has everything you would need to draw manga, and there is no such thing as too early of a preparation. Saiko is elated and gratefully accepts the key. He immediately decides to visit the place and excitedly dashes out of his house. He gives a call to Shujin on the way, gives him the good news, and tells him to meet him at his uncle's studio. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.